Morning, folks. Be an interesting one this morning. Found some really interesting information as I was researching some of the headlines this morning. So, should be interesting. I'll bring the other David in and we'll get things underway. As I say, it should be interesting because some new information has come to light. Hello, David. Welcome aboard this morning. Are you ready to play the man in the news agents who's looking at the headlines and wondering what the fuck's going on? I take that as an order. I'll take that as an order. Right, let's have a wee look and see who's in. Hey, we've got Art Office, Graham Masons, Eddie Wolvey, Martin the Hibby, Barbara Lansborough. Good morning, Barbara. Hey, we've got Melanie, we've got Stephen Nichol, Mr. S. McLean, Wee Bird. Hi, Alistair, Viper Scott. One, John McGoran. Good morning, John. Hope you're well today.
We chose there, Viper Scott. Viper Scott won.
Mary McDonald's in. John Baxter's in. Christine Mackey. Good morning, Christine. Jim Sore Alba. Let's run down a bit. We've Pet. Last Braveheart. Mark McLagan. Desiree. Jeanette Gilfillan. Giants Breaches 6. Good morning, Giant Breaches 6. Hey, Class Action. That's where we are at the moment. Scott Haynes. Hi, Scott. Right, we're up at 84, David. Let's get this thing underway. Okay, first up this morning, David, I'm not putting up, of course, as the record. Hospitals are at breaking point. Why are we waiting? Cancer patients, 15-hour wait, A&E doc reveals. On day, new figures show deadly rise in emergency room delays. What do you make of that?
Right, 15-hour delay.
One particular patient waited 15 hours to see an A&E doctor. This particular patient had cancer, but they weren't at the hospital to be seen for cancer. They were at the hospital with an accident emergency.
Right. Okay. So in actual fact, they turned up at maybe the Queen Elizabeth, right? For example, right?
Yep.
And they didn't know they had cancer.
No, obviously patient records are universal right across Scotland. You get cancer, you show up in Inverness, and they put in your name and address. Your record's going to come up and tell them you get cancer.
So
the cancer's irrelevant here, David.
So no, but what I'm saying is this the first time that the person has seen somebody from the cancer specialism? Is that
They weren't there. They were at accident emergency. They weren't being seen. They weren't seen a cancer specialist. The report isn't related to cancer. It's related to waiting times.
Right. Okay. Well,
it just so happens that this cancer patient, who was being treated for cancer in another part of the NHS, went to A&E with a problem and had to wait 15 hours to see a doctor.
Pass. Go on.
Well, as I looked into this, because as you know, David, we find a lot of this is nonsense. You know, a minuscule amount of people have a long wait to see an A&E doctor because A&Es are busy. Now, the latest figures show that 72.6% of people are seen within the 4-hour window. Yeah. That means 21.4% are either waiting 8, 12, and beyond. That's the way they categorise it in 4 hours packages. You could be in the 4-hour and 15-minute package and still be put down as having to wait 8 hours.
Yeah.
But what I did find out, what annoyed me was, why aren't we hearing the same things about NHS England? Well, as I went looking for that information this morning, the Nuffield Trust threw up something really, really interesting in their latest report. So I'm going to put it up, David. Right, you ready for us?
Yeah.
I'll put the Nuffield Trust up in their report.
Is that Nuffield Hospitals, as in do not have an A&E department?
It's, the private healthcare. They did a study into waiting times in the UK, and specifically NHS England. I found what they found on NHS England quite interesting. So I'm going to stick it up. All right. Now, A&E waiting times. This is a report with enough Nuffield Trust that you can see there, folks. And then as I scroll it down, once I get the right one up, it tells you that the 4-hour waiting time target is a pledge set out in the handbook to the NHS Constitution. The operational standards set out in 2010 stated that at least, this is England, remember, 95% of patients attending A&E should be admitted, transferred or discharged within 4 hours. Same rules apply in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. Right, the Urgent Emergency Care Plan for 25-26 introduced by the Labour Party introduced a minimum target of 78% of patients who attend A&E being seen, transferred or discharged within 4 hours. So basically, the reason why we're not hearing the story for the same stories in NHS England is when the Labour Party came in, they lowered the waiting time standards from 95% to 80%. Sorry, 78%. So basically, they shifted the goalposts to make their NHS look as if it's performing better. That was the interesting nugget that I found out this morning as I went researching the figures.
I also think it's a bit ironic that our private healthcare system, they don't have an A&E system whatsoever. You turn up at an NHS hospital and an arm hanging off, they'll go, oh, you'll need to take that to NHS hospital, right? It's like they are putting out that report on waiting times.
Well, the Nuffield Trust and other private healthcare providers are
Yeah.
interested.
As far as I'm concerned, there shouldn't be a private healthcare system in the first place.
Did they change the fact, David, that they are putting out fucking advertising for their own services by slating the NHS? That's basically what they're doing.
I know.
But the Nuffield Trust is quite a trusted a healthcare body when it comes to these reports. In fact, the UK and Scottish Government actually commission reports for the Nuffield Trust.
Yeah, all right. Okay, right.
So
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from, David. These people don't provide these services and they're criticising them.
Yeah.
I do understand.
We don't play football, but you're rubbish at it.
They are commissioned by the NHS to do studies into these things, believe it or not. But the interesting thing that came out about it is the NHS 25-26, which has been introduced in England after Labour came to power in 2024. They removed to lower the waiting time standards from 95% to 78%. And that's how we're not hearing the same stories about NHS England as what we're hearing about NHS Scotland. They've changed the goalposts in England.
Well, they've actually effectively, they have changed the goalposts in Scotland because effectively they're putting a lower standard throughout the UK. Yes?
No, that's the lower standard only applies in NHS England. NHS Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland are still running 95% seen in 4-hour windows.
Well, that's wrong, of course.
Of course, but what I'm saying is the reason why we're not seeing the same reports in the English papers is because they've lowered the standard and they've changed the goalposts.
Right, so we're being held to a higher standard.
Yes, as in Welsh and the Northern Irish than the English NHS, yes.
Well, I think we should try contacting Ireland. Don't forget we've got Fiona, out now, our correspondent in Ireland, and who've got in Wales. You know.
Aye. Well, let's move on anyway. Next up, we've the Field. And the Daily Field, I'll put it up. It's on a 20-year-old crime story. It's on a 20-year-old crime story, which is quite interesting. Not exactly interesting, but quite interesting. If I can find the fucking thing. Daily Field, where are you? It's going to be one of the mornings where I can't find nothing.
That's all right. Don't worry about it.
I am worried about it. You can't how agitated them all this morning, David. Sometimes I really got off my nose. Right. Officer who misled widow of near doorstep murder victim in line for major promotion following misconduct probe. Fury over police betrayal of shot banker's family. And this, of course, is the Wilson family of Nairn, who 20 years ago, husband opened the door and was shot on the doorstep. Never quite been solved. No idea why it was this guy.
I think I seem to remember this. Aye, but
anyway, at the time, a young officer gave the widow a bit of misinformation inadvertently, and he was disciplined for it. 20 years on, apparently that young officer's not entitled to a fucking promotion because an incident that happened 20 years ago. That's the basis of this story. 20 years on for making a mistake, young fella is not entitled to, or sorry, older gentleman now is not entitled to promotion. That's the basis of the story.
Right, okay.
Which, to be honest, David, it's just fucking stupid.
Pretty naff.
That is pretty naff. Right. Next up, we'll get the Herald, I believe.
Alexa, lounge lights off.
Next up, we'll get the Herald.
Alexa, lounge lights off.
I see that pays as much attention to you as your wife does.
No, that's good one.
Typical woman. Alistair, there's no point in being angry about gerrymandering figures. It's just the way it works. You know, I was angry about it myself this morning, but I'm a wee bit over it now. Anyway, the Herald has Police Scotland facing growing threat from gang wars spilling over. You noticing gang wars spilling over where you live, David?
Nah, sorry.
Have you seen people getting shot in the streets and houses getting bumped down and cars blowing up and shit like that?
No. Sorry.
Can't say I'm noticing that either. You're in the big city and I'm in the countryside. I really do sometimes think this stuff is absolute fucking nonsense, you know that?
All quiet in the Clydebank front.
Aye, and that's the interesting thing. Crime's at, a 44-year-old now, and yet we're supposed to believe there's turf wars going on left, right, and centre, and people being blown up, fucking killed, maimed everywhere. What a load of nonsense. You know?
Yeah. At one time it was Drumchapel, Easter House, all these places that were really, really bad, right? Nowadays, the gang lords have all moved to Newton Mearns.
Milngavie, Bears Head.
That's right.
There's more gangsters in Topville than what there is other people.
Yeah, they don't have wars in the UK at all, or in Scotland, right? They go to Spain and sort their problems in bars, you know.
Aye, in bars.
Go and fight the OK Corral, you know.
Next up, we'll get the scum, which we're not putting that up, but it's an entertainment story. I'm so proud of Liam. Warm tribute to amazing funny brother. Do you know, that's interesting, that one. These two have spent the last 20 years fighting each other. Stick a couple of million quid in their pocket and all of a sudden they're best fucking pals again. You know what I mean? You know, we've spent the last 20 years watching these two hate on each other in the fucking press. Couple of million quid in the back, hippie, and they're smiling big style.
That's brilliant. This is tremendous.
It just shows you a couple of million quid will do for you, David.
We did it.
Smile back in your face.
You know what I mean? It's like, I'm your best pal. It's simple as that. Hey, come on, guys. I need a few million here.
I mean, it is good fun. It's hilarious. It really is hilarious. Right, next up was The Guardian. Let's get The Guardian up. What's The Guardian go for this morning? High Court rules asylum seekers must be removed from protest hotel. Right, you'll be aware of what's been going on in Edinburgh.
Yeah, I mean, there are various hotels that open and close and all the rest of it, right? Okay. One would say maybe a hotel wasn't keeping up to proper standards. Or...
No, David, no. This is the day we have victory for the far right and the racists.
Right.
If you're not aware of what's been going on in Epping in Essex, then you won't have the gist of this story.
No, I'm not aware of what's been going on.
No, there's been protests and riot and violent incidents outside an asylum hotel
right.
in Epping in Essex. Now, the interesting thing about this headline is it doesn't say migrants, it doesn't say illegal immigrants, it says asylum seekers.
Yeah.
Which is what these people actually are.
Yeah.
And the notion that these people have fled persecution, they have fled horror to come here to seek refuge and find themselves facing the same shit.
Yeah, well, no, they're facing different shit, but it's shit nonetheless, right?
Yeah, they're facing the same persecution.
Yeah, they're not in danger of being killed, yeah, or are they?
Well, not yet. Not yet, but we're getting there down that road. Yeah. But the fact that the court has ruled that these people have to be moved out throws the asylum system into meltdown. Because where are we going to put these people?
Yeah, if we allow the far right to gain a foothold in that circumstance, they'll replicate right the way through everywhere.
That's correct. So, Essex Council has managed to say, no, too much bother, get rid of them out of here, take them somewhere else.
You know that
I think that's not going to happen everywhere.
you know where the neighbouring area is, Dartford, where we had one situation where the police were putting the far right against the anti-racist protesters, and they were shoving them up together to create a battle. Then that's pretty bad, really is.
Right, I'm going to put this one up for your moderator, Mad Monk. And it says, David McGuinness, give me a couple of million and I may start liking you. May start. Listen, little brother, I'll come down that road to your family home and I'll put my boot that far up your arse. You won't land in the fucking planet Earth for the next 2 weeks. You wee
Oh,
gig.
fuck's sake, it's like Jack and Victor and going blooming bartender. Honestly.
It's a bit like Nolan. It's a bit like Nolan Liam, except for it's been going for 50 years. But, hey, thanks for the wee chuckle this morning, bro. I could have done with one. Because David will tell you when I come on this morning I was grumpy as fuck.
Oh dear.
Right, next up we got the Winnie right wing Ragby Express. Let's see where it's got for this morning. There's nothing better than a wee bit of knuckle dragging just to cheer you up. Oh dear, that's not going well. Right, where's the bloody Express? Here we go. I knew I had it somewhere. Charities and opposition politicians join courts to condemn SNP handling of NHS. Scotland lags seriously for cancer treatment.
Seriously, it's like if you look at, I've just been writing about the Beeson, and the Beeson is an amazing setup, right? And Scotland lags seriously for cancer treatment. Sorry, it's like Scotland is way head and shoulders above the rest of the UK when it comes to cancer treatment. Sorry, yeah.
It still is, David, but it's getting a wee bit more difficult. And one of the other things I found out in my research this morning, folks, as you know, I like to do a wee bit of research when I see these headlines, is that a lot of the people that NHS Scotland tries to recruit from overseas end up working in NH England.
Yeah.
Do you know why that is, David?
No idea.
Because when they get offered the post at NHS Scotland, they've got to go through the Home Office to get their visas and things like that. And because they're telling the Home Office that they're coming as medical professionals to operate in NHS Scotland, they are inevitably offered an alternative job in England.
That's it's bad show, old chap. Bad shirt. There you go.
Well, certainly, dear boy, it is bad showing and it's bad faith. So the NHS here in Scotland can troll the world trying to find a specialist, and when they put in their application for a visa, they get an alternative job opportunity from the other NHS down that road. Isn't that interesting? Because we don't control immigration, they can poach.
Having that piece of information is actually quite powerful.
Well, it wasn't hard to find, to be honest.
Yeah, that's another reason why Scotland should be an independent country.
Yes.
Yeah, again, that's another what's that? Several million reasons?
Aye, and the
Just
rest.
in my book. So that's 7,000,001. Yeah.
There's only one reason, and that is control.
Yeah.
At this point in time, you and I believe we get personal freedoms until we look at the bigger picture and realise we have no freedom.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on. Next up's the Times. Well, where is the fucking Times? Yeah, here we go. It's there somewhere. The Times. Right, High Court puts asylum hotel policy in turmoil.
Well, I think that's just the same, obviously, as the other one. With being told to close the hotel.
Yeah, they've been told to close the asylum hotel. So, of course, each council area that doesn't want that's having problems with protests outside asylum hotels is now going to petition the courts to move these people on.
Yeah.
The question is, where are we going to put them? Are we going to build concentration camps to put them in? But and folks, make no mistake here. That's basically what these asylum hotels are. These people are put in these ex-hotels. They're locked up for 20 hours a day. Because, let's face it, it's no safe for them to go outside. You go outside, you face a barrage of right-wing nutters wanting to rip your head off. So these hotels have basically become concentration camps and a loss of liberty for these people.
In Scotland, around the abortion clinics, we've got a safe zone, buffer zone, right? And it's like all these asylum hotels share the same.
So we give them 200 years of freedom, do we?
Well, at the end of the day, it's better than nothing.
I suppose so. But it's a mark of where the society is.
Yeah, that's right.
People fleeing persecution and war come here seeking refuge, find themselves up against it. Yeah. It's vulgar.
I can just hope that one of these knuckle draggers don't end up in any similar situation. If something happened in the UK and they ran away to France, maybe, and found themselves in an asylum hotel somewhere where idiots outside, all of a sudden the penny will drop and they'll go, oh shit.
Right, next up we get Telegraph. I'm going to have to go and grab it because I shut everything down there. It was fucking murder. So I'm just going to grab them one by one. And put them up one by one. If things function properly, that is. And apparently they're not. Right, the Telegraph, let's get it up.
Thanks, Graham. Super chat, £5.
Thank you.
4 hour A&E, 70%. England, 4 hour 21%, June 25.
Aye. Last time I looked, it was 72.6, but it might be lower because the last figures that were available to me were May.
Yeah.
Right, the Telegraph, here we go. Migrant hotels face closure. Farage rallying cry as High Court throws future of asylum strategy into doubt.
End of the day, it's like that. This is just a breakdown of society because, Westminster's never worked, right? But because Westminster is such a bad state now, what's happening is these groups are getting a foothold.
Yes.
Some of that.
Right, if the Telegraph of the National, I'll need to go and grab it, as I say, because nothing's where it's supposed to be. Right, let's put the National up. There's no real delay in grabbing them individually, David, actually. Right, Adams donates BBC liable payout to good causes. UK is trying to cover up its role in genocide.
Oh, David Lammy has been in that role, a long time. I actually remember before they took power, being interviewed on various news programs, and the journalist was trying to get me to say something against Israel, and my goodness me, the sweat was pouring off the guy because he knew he had not to say anything against Israel. So David Lammy, good picture of him trying to cover up its role in genocide. Of course they are. Of course he is.
There is no doubt the BBC, there's no doubt that the UK government's doing that.
Yeah.
Absolutely none whatsoever. So next up we've got the eye. We'll put the eye up because that's still where I left it. Don't need to go and grab that one. Migrant policy in disarray as court rules protest the Dell must evict asylum seekers.
Evict to where?
That's it.
The asylum seekers. You know, as far as I'm concerned, what's needed is for the Home Office to actually make a decision on these asylum seekers, and the ones that are staying are said right there. You've got your as in America, the green card. You've got a green card. There you are. On you go.
You know, David, as far as I'm concerned, the behaviour down that road is, at this point in time, it's asylum seekers. When they shut the borders and there'll no more of these people coming in, then they're going to have to look up for others to blame. And it's a case of, hey, when it came to asylum seekers, I didn't stand up because I wasn't an asylum seeker.
That's right. Right.
You know what's going to happen, David? When they don't have asylum seekers and others to blame, they're going to come and blame the Scots, the Welsh, and the Irish. Because
Tell you what, seriously, see if the UK really, really, really broke down and to the point where people are running away to other countries, right? They, believe it or not, the right-wing knuckle draggers, they'll be on the boat as well, and they will become asylum seekers.
I mean, lightly. But as I say, the way I see it is when they run out of people to other, they'll be coming to other you, me, and the Welsh, the Irish. Because that's their nature. Westminster and all the political parties there are in the habit of saying, no, me, mister, it was him next door. What happens if you run out of him next doors?
Yeah.
Then, is that what it's going to take to get them to turn in on themselves and look at their own failures? Do they have to run out of others to blame for their mistakes? No. It shows you how infantile the people down that road are, and I don't mean the general populace, I mean the politicians and things like that. You know, they are that small, insignificant, and stupid that they spend their time blaming others for their own mistakes rather than reflecting and thinking, what could we have done right? What are we learning from this? You know,
it's called projection.
This is 1930s fucking Germany all over again.
Yeah.
We see it in the rhetoric, the language, the behaviour. We're now at the point where these asylum hotels, the people at the front of them, they're the fucking brown shirts.
Yeah.
If people can't see it, then they better lift the blinkers off their eyes, David.
Problem is, what you're discussing there is people taking positive action against the knuckle draggers.
Yes.
And, you know, that we can't promote that on a public channel like this, David. You know that.
David, is try and combat the weapon of the fascist, and that is fear.
Yeah. Yes.
We can say to people, let's not allow them to install in us the fear of the other. Let us go and embrace the other and show these knuckle draggers they're wrong.
Yes.
We know in Maximilian Robespierre's service last night, they were talking about the lack of integration when it comes to people of other ethnic minorities in England. But they were talking about the UK, and I had to correct them and say, hold on, that's not a problem here in Scotland. Here in Scotland, the people weren't ghettoised, they were put into the communities where they thrived within our communities. Where they have moved to live in communities together, that was their choice.
Yeah.
And it still hasn't stopped them from integrating into our society.
That's possibly the best thing that we could do regarding advertising medical jobs abroad. Say to them, be careful, you will be offered a position in England, and the situation with England at the moment, if you've got brown skin or you look other than a British citizen, the knuckle draggers have has been, well, we're white Christian, right?
Yep.
Then you may have a bad time. Whereas in Scotland, you'll have a good time.
Right, next up, of course, we have the Metro. Let's put it up. NHS sick notes toll grows. Medics absent rate hits 10-year high. No wonder. I don't find that headline to be controversial at all, David, do you?
No, not at all.
No, because, let's face it, the strain and the stress that these people are under. in order to make unrealistic targets because each case is individual and each person has individual needs. This is nonsense.
I mean, if you look at in relative terms, right, they've just come through a pandemic
Yeah, but if you look
years ago, right?
at
And the pressure they were under in the pandemic, my goodness, these people kept on coming to work, kept on doing it, and someone died.
hold
You
on,
know?
this super spanner, Mac. Apparently, Mad Monk has got a reputation of being 8 foot tall and shooting fire from his bahookie. I can assure you, mate, he's 5'8" and he's a wee dick. He's my brother.
It's a quote
And
from
he definitely isn't a very scary person. I can assure you that.
that's a quote from Braveheart, the movie. Yeah,
So Spanner, Mac, don't you worry about Mad Monk. If his spanner gets out of control, I'll take it off him. All right. Right, of course, last up, David, as we put the book away as a Star. Now, I thought the Star's headline was quite interesting today. Yesterday's was quite interesting as well. But as I say, I'll go and grab it and put it up because I shut everything down there because nothing was where I left it. Right, open image and new. And here we have it, the Star. Gratuity outrage, tipping point, service charge fury for buying beer at bar. Now, I know you're not going to have a Scooby about this story, David.
absolutely not.
Well, what it is apparently the American culture of tipping has arrived in the UK. I don't know if you knew.
I get caught with that when I was in Disneyland, right? And went for a meal in Disneyland, and there's a woman there trying to get us to give a 25% tip on the
Well,
meal.
the average here in Scotland, what this is about is during the pandemic, as you know, cash was frowned upon. So if you were working in the service industry, there was no opportunity for somebody to tip you.
Yeah.
So now on the machines, they give you an option of do you want to tip this person or no? And in general, it's a 10% service charge if you like, if you say yes. But it is optional.
10% is if you've had good service and all the rest of it, right? Fine, 10%. But the problem that you've got is that is now taking to be part of the business. That doesn't go to the person that gave you good service or you enjoyed the company or whatever, right? And as far as I'm concerned, tipping is going daft. I worked as an acoustician or a sound engineer, and I never got a tip.
No. John,
No,
thanks very much for your super chat. You
maybe
can't stand the unionist parties.
maybe somebody sometime told me what the 4 o'clock Kempton Park was, but that was the only tip I got. You
Well,
know,
aye. But John, thanks for your super chat. You can't stand those unionist parties and all. They contribute absolutely nothing to Scottish society. All they ever do is bring up the past. I don't know why. They're the fucking problem. It's always been the problem, whether it be past or present. And they delve into any minute detail against the SNP. Of course they do.
that's right.
They're shite scared, John.
Yeah.
You know, anyway, the Star this morning is talking about tipping culture, which apparently has just arrived in England. I don't know about you, David, but every time I've used a taxi, every time I've been to a restaurant, every time I use a service, I generally tip the person if they give me good service. You
But
know,
that's promoted from you. That's your standards, right?
yeah.
What's actually been happening is it's now part of the business. It's
Well,
if you come into our establishment, you'll pay X amount of as a so-called tip. It's just like a taxation on a
Well,
person.
the reason why they're talking about this is during the pandemic, people couldn't tip in cash because cash was frowned upon. So they introduced a tipping facility on the card machines. Simple as that. That's what it's about. You know,
So eventually, when all money goes cashless, we don't have any pound notes anymore, right?
the service charge will be built in, that's right.
That's
And you
right.
won't even notice it because you won't be told about it. You just be zapped for 10, 20, 30%.
That's right. Yeah.
And it will become part of the wage funding model. At this point in time, it's not, because at this point in time, the majority is still tipping cash to the person who's delivering the service. All right, but apparently we're becoming Americanized because we've started tipping. Apparently, tipping is not a Scottish or English or Welsh thing to
You
do.
should not be doing anything that mimics America whatsoever. In actual fact, my advice that I gave on one of my things one of my posts last night was America are now the enemy and should be treated as such until they actually come round and actually start behaving like a normal, ordinary country.
Wow. Wow, pot called kettle black. How about we come round and start behaving like an ordinary country?
No. I'm talking about government. I'm talking about people.
You're
So,
not talking about government, you're talking about people.
yeah.
I don't know that many Americans, to be honest, so I can't tell you. The only Americans I really know is Ginger Giraffe.
Americans, the ones that have got the biggest voice at the moment are your MAGA idiots.
Yeah, but as I say, I don't know that many Americans, so I can't buy into that nonsense. I only know one American, and that's Ginger Giraffes.
Well, if you don't perceive America as being idiots, if they're full of idiots, I'm talking about the government, right? Trump and all the rest of it, then David, you need help.
I don't need help at all. I can recognise what they are. Doesn't
Right.
mean it makes any difference to me.
Right.
The only difference to me is
our own crowd have nothing to do with me. That's down in Westminster. It's like I've got Holyrood. I've got big enough problems with John Swinney at Holyrood as it stands. Right. So there you go.
There you go. David, we're all aware of what's happening in America right now. We're all aware. If we hold the mirror to ourselves here on these islands, we're actually doing the same thing. It's just the politicians are going to put it a different way.
You're talking about Westminster, aren't you?
No, I'm even talking about Holyrood.
All right, I'm going. Who Holyrood is saying what the same as what Trump's saying?
No, I'm talking about compliance with the right and being influenced by the right.
No, I know. Honestly, not even in the same fucking planet. Yes, there might be one or two, but we're talking about people.
Trying to tell me Keir Starmer's not as bad a dictator as fucking Trump.
But that's Westminster.
Anyway, I've just noticed the time and my phone's in newspapers. You and I keep going like this all morning. People might find that interesting, but no, it's not for today.
I was just busy thinking another fucking yeah.
You all right? Started off, you know I'm smiling. Hugh, Mad Monk, I'm becoming like to put my boot up your arse shortly, dear boy. Frighten my viewers, will you dare? Our viewers, will you dare? Right, folks, that's it for this morning. I'll be back tomorrow morning 10:30. Dave and I will be back tomorrow afternoon 4 o'clock to discuss some of the bigger issues that are going on this week in the UK. So look after yourselves. Thanks very much for your super chats. Hit the like button on the way out the door.